we're talking about how to get rid of inventory, how to manage inventory, and how to understand these third-party platforms. So I'm going to tell you today my situation. You can apply it to your own situation. You can apply it to a startup, new entrepreneur, or you can apply it to someone even at the end trying to get rid of your inventory because you're done with fighting with third-party marketplaces. So I'm going to tell you the difference between eBay and the other platforms. Most of the platforms use a shared database, which means you're not creating your item page, you're borrowing it. So that means when people want to manipulate, when these manufacturers, when these other sellers, you name it, bro. Whoever wants to manipulate, cheat, lie, pull all the stunts that is called American capitalism in 2026. When people want to do this, they can manipulate really easy on a shared platform because they can gain control of your product page. That's the key. Listen to what I'm telling you. They can control, manage, delete, sabotage your product page. So if you're on Amazon, you list a shirt and you borrow that from the catalog and somebody wants to sabotage you, they can go in and change the text on that item page so that yours is wrong. And when you sell it, you get in trouble. And you don't even know because you've got no idea that they somehow took over that buy box enough to where they were able to edit the text. Because usually when you edit text on an Amazon item page, you get nowhere, even though they're supposed to be editable. But what this video is really about is how eBay is different and how this is a way to circumvent the kind of vulnerability you have when you list on regular third-party platforms. Now, eBay's third-party, they do the marketing, they bring you the buyers, they do all this stuff. But we're going to also talk about eBay a little bit because eBay is not the busiest site when you're in a product niche. Maybe if you control that niche and do your own marketing, you can make it busy. But my experience, when I was selling the exact same item, sports gear, on Amazon and eBay, I sold 3% on eBay and 97% on Amazon. That's pretty bad, bro. So granted, if you're having problems on Amazon, you're going to have this problem with volume. You're going to have problems if you get away from Amazon with wondering how much you're actually going to sell. Now, the second thing I want to add before we really get to the structure that makes eBay different, what I want to get to is the fact that eBay has evolved into a kind of pay upgrade system, which means as a third party platform, they're supposed to be bringing you buyers, but now they've seen an incentive just like every social media platform, every third party sales, retail, wholesale platform. They've seen an incentive at adding on to your account, which means offering you boosts. So you can boost your product line, select product pages. You can boost your whole account. You can do all this by paying more. And so if you're paying 15%, which a lot of people do as a fee, forget product costs of managing your company, small business costs, everything. You're paying 15% just for the third party platform. So that increases when you do boosts. That can increase to 18%, 20%, 30%, 50%. It's bad. And you do have to understand that. That's a separate video. Go watch that video. It's not up there right now, but go watch it anyway. So what I'm telling you is there's a lot of costs associated with this. eBay has its own issues. But eBay has a catalog system where you create your own catalog. So you go in, you build your product pages. Yes, people can copy them and turn them into their own. That's not the same thing as a shared catalog. Let me try to explain this as best I can. Most of these platforms have a shared catalog. And what that means is it was built when the site was originally built. So the catalog was built in that first month, 6 months, year, and they add on to it, but it was originally built like a giant spreadsheet to contain most products. And then those sellers at the time, those beginning sellers, were kind of put in the position where they had to create the catalog by contributing. So they contributed and they got locked in. So most of the products you see in a shared catalog, especially on Amazon, they've been around for 10 years. They were originally created by somebody and now they're part of a shared catalog. And when you want to list that item, you're borrowing that page, which means all you're doing is sticking your name onto that page that has a master page on whatever the search result page is for the buyer. You are putting your name underneath that. And that's why it says click to see other sellers. You're one of those links. And so they can go investigate you as a seller. They can see your feedback. There's not much really unique about it though, because you really are just relying on that shared information on that page. That's Walmart, that's Amazon, that's a lot of these platforms. So eBay does it very differently. You build your own product page. Like I said, people can copy what you build, but you basically have a much larger field range, which means you kind of have your own spreadsheet. So you have an open spreadsheet for your page or for your upload feed, hundreds of products. Let's just talk about one single product. Let's say you want to list them separately, which is really important when you don't want to make mistakes. You list them separately. So if you're listing that sports gear item separately on Amazon, you're copying a page and adding your name to that master page. So on eBay, you're actually creating your own page, which means on Amazon you had 3 fields: price, unique product code, and quantity. On eBay, you have potentially 100 fields. Now, you can save some of these fields so that they're the same every time you try to list your own product page. And I do that with 90%. But you're still going to have 10 fields to fill out, including the text. So each bit of text that describes the item on each eBay page is unique to what you put in, which means you're not relying on someone else's shared text. So if you are stuck with inventory and you want to sell it, this is a way to do it. I've explained how the platforms are different. I've explained how these inventory systems are different. eBay being an independent product database platform. So now that you know that, let's talk about getting rid of this stuff and not getting in trouble. I don't mean that in trouble in a real legal sense. I mean in trouble in terms of being vulnerable to the scammers, which are, I don't know, 80, 90% of the people out there everywhere in business now, but especially on third-party platforms. So what I'm telling you is they have a much harder time blocking you, and that's why eBay doesn't have a blocking system. Amazon has its own systems, Walmart especially. You think Walmart's newer, Walmart's trying to be functionally better and maybe even more appealing to a seller. No, Walmart has all kinds of systems where the manufacturer can just appeal one little thing and block their whole product line, which is gray area legal, right? It's not per se price fixing because really nothing is anymore since they changed price fixing laws. But what this means is on Walmart and Amazon and these other things, it is a lot easier for the people to get in and manipulate. Now, with that said, there are people trying to block intellectual property violations that are legitimate. That happens all the time. A good example of that is sports gear that's made in another country. They use someone else's logo. They use someone else's intellectual property, like a team name, and they try to sell on it. And since Amazon's so big, they will come back into the United States and try to sell off Amazon, ship from their country. This all happened. Go look it up. These are huge stories. These are big problems. So there are real things, but the problem is that it's become manipulatable. And so this is where everyone manipulates. And on eBay, you're somewhat protected from that. Yes, you can get a violation, but people can't automatically take down your product. They can't automatically block a whole product line. They can't manipulate those master pages because there aren't any. You create your own individual pages on your own individual store. You put up what you want to. So when you're trying to get rid of inventory, especially because you've been blocked on Amazon, like it's happened to thousands of stores, thousands of small businesses, you can turn to eBay to get rid of it more like a garage sale. You're probably gonna have to lower your price. But what I'm saying is you can turn to them and feel more safe. And here's the reason it's safe. It's because, yes, you'll get blocked on Amazon, but the real loss is that you put a lot of time into listing them. So you put that time into eBay feeling more confident that you won't get blocked. Now, with that said, the last thing I'm going to say, eBay does block accounts. And this has nothing to do with those product things or shared databases. It means eBay has a really bad system in terms of um, performance metrics and seller performance, and they are getting better from my understanding. They're better with me. I've had a much better time in the past 12 months. But what that means is that you can put all this effort into it, get blocked for something else, your whole account goes down. What eBay does is they don't take accounts down as much as Amazon does. They block the amount of products you can list. And I think they might have gotten away from this. This was a year ago. They would block the potential quantity that you can list, the overall quantity in your store, and they would do that. And if you got that block and had more on your store, they would take down everything when they expired after 30 days. They would take them down until you went down to that number that they allowed, which would disrupt an entire store and waste a lot of time listing if you go from 10,000 to 1,000 products. I got to wrap up this video. You can see where I'm going. You can see the difference in the platforms. Thanks for watching.